How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews. Back with a little bit of a 8-Bit Brewing up in this piece in the form of their Save Point. Yeah, this is a Imperial Stout, 12% ABV. It has graham crackers, cacao nibs, and marshmallow in it. This comes courtesy of my boy Rick from Michigan. So yeah, drop this puppy into one of my favorite stout glasses of all time. My little Novari Rest glass here. Label-wise, it's cool, man. It's pretty much a Save Point Red Dead Redemption going on. So, 8-Bit Brewing, video game nerds, I can get with it. That looks like a stout. The head's a little funky, like little really soapy, kind of crumbly on the edges, but it looks the part of a big old kind of adjuncty kind of stout. Let's see what the nose has. I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued because I'm not getting a huge kind of super saturated, sweet kind of hint of sweetness. Again, for all you people that say, oh, you can't fuck taste sweet, go look up the connection between taste and olfactoriness when it comes to sweet and bittering and how your brain processes those things. Just do it. Anyway, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that overly sweet. There's this cool kind of like roasty component to it that reminds me of coffee. I'm very surprised there's not a dollop of coffee in here. Could just be an overly roasted malt, but it smells quite nice. It doesn't smell super out there in left field pastry-wise. It smells, it's going to be pastry, but not just pastry with like 5 A's. We're just diving in. Cheers. It's sweeter than I thought it was going to be. Appropriate level for 12%. Maybe a little bit bigger than that, actually. But there's a big roasted, toasty, bittering component from roasted malt in there. That kind of helps rein that sweetness in. It's sweet, but it's being reined in at least enough to where it doesn't get too bonkersly sweet. The marshmallow is definitely present. Still surprised there's no kind of coffee component in there. A little bit of heat on the back end. Chocolate comes through, but it's more like a chocolate malt thing. Done and done. I mean, this is quintessential pastry stout, you know? There's a nice, cool bittering component to it. I think that graham cracker is getting lost in that sweetness for me. But there is a spiciness, and I can't really attribute the graham cracker, but it's probably the graham cracker marrying with a little bit of hops and roasted malt. Kind of bring that kind of, hide that graham cracker, but actually show it at the same time. It's quintessential pastry. Mouth feels nice. It's not thick, but it's thick enough where people can write a couple I's and a couple C's and have fun with it. Every time I take a sip, I get a bigger, lingering bitterness on my tongue. That's probably my favorite part about this beer. Is that even though it's sweeter than I thought it was, that bitterness lingers. So each time you take a sip, it gains a little bit volume-wise to where this beer gets a little bit easier, a little less cloying with each additional sip. Yeah, it's fun pastry, man. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh man, I got to get this shit. And I know a lot of people would. And that's where this is where my channel and what I do is, well, it was different, but everybody kind of does the same thing now. When I first started doing beer reviews, it was pretty much everybody graded everything, and that's what I did when I first started off. But I quickly kind of went like, that's kind of weird. Why the hell am I grading stuff? It doesn't make any sense. And I made several videos of kind of explaining why I switched and why I removed the grading process. And I talk about beers as an experience as opposed to an award or something like that. And it's kind of cool to see so many people follow suit. And that's kind of seems like the norm nowadays. The grading thing has kind of gone by the wayside. And I think it's better, and not to make this a video not about this beer, but this beer is why I do that. Because if I were going to grade this beer on a 1 to 100 scale, it wouldn't be that really overtly high for me. But I think you lose a little bit of nuance when it comes to the grading system. In that, I want to talk about whether or not I like the beer, but I also want to talk about whether or not I think other people may like it, because I think you can process something like that. And that's where this beer kind of lies. So I wouldn't necessarily put this in my Mount Rushmore of beers. I'd put it in a conversation, one of the tastier pastry stouts. You know, it's not like not worthy of being in that conversation. But I could see somebody, if that's what your jam is, if you really dig on these big, you know, sweetened, under attenuated, just pastry level sugar candy bars in a can, nothing wrong with that. It's not me pooping on that when I say those things. I think this is something you'd really enjoy, especially because there's a bittering component there. I think that adds a little bit of kind of wow factor to it, because this is not sweet on sweet on sweet. There's a little bit of turmoil in the beer to make you be like, okay, it's kind of doing something. And I like that. I think this is a fun beer. Let's put it that way. And while it's not maybe my favorite kind of beer, I think a lot of people dig it. So if you dig these pastry stouts, you will dig this sucker. So yeah, let's talk about it. Go through the whole thing. One of my better ones, I already said it. It's in the conversation, not towards the top. I have no idea value and availability on this outside of what you guys will tell me. Like I said, Rick sent this off, so you guys out there in the West Coast, let me know what 8-Bit is doing with this price-wise, and leave you with, and Mark, tell me what you got for it, unless you traded or whatever, and leave you with, if you like what we like this, if you like those big old pastry stouts, you'll like this. There you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there, if you want to talk about it, Massive Beers. If you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massif. If you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of pastry jams right now. Or some Red Dead or some video games, whatever. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers.